Hello and welcome everyone once again to another Trotec webinar. Thank you for joining us so much on this lovely Friday. This webinar is going to be a little bit special. It's something of a first of its kind for Trotec. I am joined by two very talented gentlemen. I'm going to introduce them in just a minute, but I wanted to take a quick second just to thank you all for watching. Thank you for joining us. And if you're in the chat, definitely don't hesitate to post any questions as we go along. I know Felix and Hugh will both be happy to answer your questions as we go. And, say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. We're so excited to have you with us. With no further ado, I want to get right into it today. Excuse me. We have the honor of getting to present with the gentleman from ChopValue today, particularly Felix and Hugh, Felix as, I believe, CEO and co-owner, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, yeah.
Please feel free to cut me off at any time. Of course.
We will.
I know, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. ChopValue is such an amazing and interesting product. I'm not gonna belabor the point. These guys are gonna get to tell you all about it, but I'm so excited for everyone to get to hear more about it today. And we have kind of what I think is a really cool and exciting sort of hour of content planned for you guys, including, well, listen, I don't want to give away any surprises. Felix, will you sort of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit maybe about ChopValue?
Of course, yeah. And my name is Felix, and we're calling in from Vancouver, Canada today. Hugh is downstairs in our showroom. You see Hugh is one of our founding partners, and you see in the background he has this beautiful hexagon light that he's introducing us in a bit, a part of all the other products that we have in the showroom. But this is really about a hands-on example of what we do actually in strategic collaboration with Trotec. In our microfactory system that we built, recycling, millions of chopsticks into new engineered products. So, don't hang up just yet on the webinar. It is a crazy idea, but we actually do some really, really cool products out of it, and want to share a bit more today, Don. So thank you for having us.
Of course, we're privileged to have you. If you guys aren't familiar with ChopValue, and admittedly, before I came to Trotec, I was not, but I think it is such a cool and ingenious idea, and it's one of those ones that strikes you as, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. I don't mean to be overly complimentary, but it's one of those ones that kind of feels like oh, of course. Like, why didn't I think of that? Do you know what I mean? For those who this is their first introduction to ChopValue, could you give us sort of perhaps the 30-second elevator pitch as to, what is the core foundation of the sort of cyclical business model that you guys have?
Of course, yeah. So it all started, so Hugh and I, we both went to UBC, the University of British Columbia, and we actually worked together on a research project on recycled wood waste from all the demolished construction sites, not only in Vancouver, but also in North America. And, we really understood that there's a big need to transfer a large amount of unutilized resources into new products before they get transferred into energy, and hopefully never seeing wood waste end up on the landfill. But there is a little luxury problem we have, I think, especially in Canada and other countries of the world. We have too much forest to actually see this as a problem. So, our elevator pitch is, why not using something viable and small, like a humble chopstick, and show people that you can create a viable business in the circular economy with something so small and underutilized. And this is how it started. 4 years ago, Hugh went out and signed up restaurant after restaurant. We provide them with recycling bins. I went on vacation for 2 weeks, and when I came back, Hugh collected the first 60 to 100,000 chopsticks.
Wow!
And then we kind of looked at each other, and we were like, "Oh, it actually works." And this is how the business started. And today we have around 35 on staff, and expand our concept as a microfactory franchise all over the world.
So I have to ask you, I was imagining this for myself. What were those first few restaurant visits like? What was it like sort of pitching it to the restaurant? Because I can imagine, again, for them, it was a bit of a novel idea, but at the same time, you must have run into people who were excited and going like, oh, I'm so glad that somebody will be doing something with these, as opposed to us simply, like you say, turning them into waste.
Yeah, Hugh, can you, I'm not sure how the noise level is, but can you answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the best parts of starting it off was having people who had that similar mindset, who it just just clicked for. And they're like, why haven't we been doing this before? But there were definitely a lot of challenges as well. And some people just, and especially in the restaurant industry, don't have like the similar mindset on recycling and the importance of that. And yeah, we're happy to see now with a few hundred restaurants in Vancouver that we're collecting with, that now we've changed the mindset of a lot of people.
Well, and that is one thing I was going to say we have. Yeah, so this is a fantastic video. I absolutely adore this video that kind of goes through the basics of the. I was watching this video yesterday at my desk. I wanted to say anyone who's watching before who hasn't had the chance to visit ChopValue.com and see the videos and the incredible presentations that you guys have there. I was watching this and it was so entertaining that a coworker that was walking by came back to my desk later and said, "Could we rewatch that video with sound again, please?" Because it was really, really cool. What I wanted to ask too is, so we'll have a chance sort of later on today to show some of the material, working with a Trotec laser. But, you guys have been partnered with us at least as long as I've been with the company. I'm curious, what is it about the combination of sort of ChopValue and Trotec, or ChopValue and a laser, that you think sort of brings out the best in both? Or, why Trotec?
Yeah. So, if you don't mind me starting with the story, and Hugh can finish, because please. I think he still makes fun of me for my early decisions on what kind of machinery we're using. When we started off to actually get off the ground, you obviously are budget focused. We didn't want to not launch the idea because of not affording some pieces of equipment. So we obviously made a lot of wrong decisions at the beginning, not knowing who the industry leaders are. So when it comes to Trotec as a global expansion partner to us, that's a relationship that has been built when we were around 2 years in business. We started with smaller equipment. We tested different brands. We also tested different laser engraving and cutting options, and they just didn't meet our production criteria on the quality and the reliability that we needed. But we did start with, the $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 entry models that we, almost self-built. Our vision is that the products you see, not only the one on the presentation, but also behind me, we want to add value in terms of personalization and customization to it. Some products we produce thin enough that they can be cut and made into value-add products. So this was a big component of our client requests that we had. And then, 2 years in the business, we really shifted our focus on who has the capacity and quality in terms of equipment manufacturers to expand with us globally. And this is where Hugh comes in, because he did all the research and then decided that Trotec, is the one that we want to work with. So I'm not sure, Hugh, maybe you want to share a few more words on that.
Yeah, and that's just a good point, because one of the reasons that why we choose to engrave every product is to kind of showcase how we bring a chopstick into a value-added material and give it a sense of quality. And we just weren't getting that with a lot of the laser machines that we found before. And then we found that Trotec gave that precision, gave everything that we needed. And it was much easier to use software-wise than all the other equipment. And when we're moving towards our next phase of expansion through franchising, it provides a much easier way of communicating that and organizing it with all the other locations that we're going to be producing in.
Fantastic. Well, listen, with no further ado, then perhaps I don't know if we'd like to perhaps go through sort of the presentation. I would love to show that. But if Hugh also, if you have I know that you're downstairs in the Microfactory at the moment, so I turn it over to you, gentlemen. It's whatever you would like to go.
Thank you, Don. Yeah,
everyone would love to see
I also think it's much more valuable if I give a quick intro on what ChopValue is, and then if Hugh can still hear me and he can maybe mute himself. We have visitors from Sweden, from Belgium, from Canada, from the US I saw popping up here, and I think it would be really cool if we can walk through the Microfactory at a particular moment, Hugh, when I give you the sign. So we put some, content together here just to increase the awareness of what we're actually working on. Because when we started the business, again, we estimated that 100,000 chopsticks get thrown out every single day in Vancouver alone. But if you make this a global problem, I always call it the 100 billion chopstick business opportunity. So we know that 1.5 billion chopsticks are getting thrown out every week. It's a number that we really don't understand. We just looked at the videos, and I think the essence of what we're doing is really that responsibility that we feel on our shoulders, that we can do better and we have to do better. So, Hugh and I, we probably, alongside the rest of the team that we have now on board, we likely took all our career path that we thought we were going to have aside to become garbage men and show people how much value we can create to something so underutilized. The green gold of our underutilized landfill in the cities is what we call the bamboo fiber. And that bamboo fiber in the shape of a chopstick is what we are turning into these new beautiful products in that next generation manufacturing phase. So we recycle locally, we produce in microfactories locally, and we create minimalistic design that lasts a second lifetime locally. And that is the redefinition of the term waste to resource, where we create all sorts of beautiful products that are designed to perform for any application. So Hugh, maybe if you could mute yourself and I just walk with you through the microfactory, I will talk maybe our viewers through the process. So if you don't mind, we're starting at the very beginning where we are sorting the chopsticks. I can see that you hear me, so that's great. So Hugh is just entering the microfactory that is built on a standard unit size of 2,500 square feet. That's what makes it so suitable for franchising. So you see in front of you, we have our team members, Ray and Paola. They're currently unloading chopsticks from the recycling bins. And good morning, Ruth from North Vancouver. And hi to Costa Rica as well. And I saw South Africa also popping up. So in front of you, Paola and Ray, they're sorting the chopsticks in this shaker table, in this screening table. Some of them are still packaged. They are overflow material from restaurants that didn't use the chopstick, but all other chopsticks are actually being used and recycled after a 20 to 30 minute dinner or lunch before they're arriving in our facility. So they're getting sorted and shaken into all aligned into one place. And then from there, they go into these trays that Hugh is showing us. These trays are there to, after the resination station in the back, which is a water-based resin from the automotive industry, they're getting dipped and then they get laid out on that tray where they then enter the drying chamber. And that drying chamber, Hugh, if you want to go to the dryer and see the perspective from there to the hot press, they have to be dried so that they're all having the same moisture content. And Hugh is, I think, opening it to see that the drying process here of all these chopstick trays after the dipping. And then behind Hugh, they're getting prepared and weighed in segments to produce our raw material, which is every single tile. So this is Carol, I believe, behind the mask, and Otto, who are currently preparing these chopsticks. And you see they're brown, not because of the resin. They're actually brown because this is a certain type of chopsticks that sometimes we are experiencing. And then you see the hot press with hundreds of tons of pressure, steam and heat pressing these new uniform engineered materials. So this is pretty much that core concept that we developed in order to produce our new raw material. And everything else after that core area, you see it's small woodworking equipment, small planer, small table saw, small sander, because the raw material itself is always a raw tile that is then being pushed through production for all our end products. So maybe Hugh can walk us through the project area into the into these components that we are producing. You see, this is one of our butcher block patterns that are getting glued up in the different dimensions for desks and home office workstations that we are currently producing. You see here that's a standard product form of one of the projects that we are currently producing. And then behind you, there are workspaces for our remanufacturing staff, where all the finishing and the oiling is happening. So you see what we always say, it's an engineered material, but a handcrafted product. And this is Liz, who is finishing up some of the coasters and some of the components for side tables that she's currently holding up, and some fashion boxes, I believe, for one of our clients in North Vancouver. And Hugh, maybe you can take us out to the showroom again, and we show the some end products in use to finish the tour. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Don. Sorry, I went for such a long monologue. I hope
no, not at all.
We didn't lose anyone.
No, I did. For a moment there, I was almost embarrassed, because when we very first got on the call, I saw the lovely piece behind you over your shoulder there, and I almost said, "Well, that's a lovely material. What is that?" And then I realized why that would be such a ridiculous question.
Yeah. So what you see here in front of you is what Hugh is showing is our final end package product that I believe goes out today to one of our strategic partners that we are popping up this weekend with Muji, a very simplicity-driven brand that we are hoping to collaborate with. And Hugh, maybe you can show the CO waste pattern first before we go to the Trotec laser. So here in front of you, you see this beautiful CO waste pattern. So every single building block that is as an offcut in production, we're trying to utilize as feature pattern or as keychains to create close to CO waste production methods. Because if you are starting a green company, you obviously need to do your homework that you're actually doing the right thing.
Right.
And now, Hugh, maybe you can walk us through to our Trotec lasers. One is in use, one is currently being calibrated for one of our franchise partners and tested to make sure it's ready for production. And I put it back to you, Don.
I appreciate it. That's such a fantastic, cool tour. I think we had Amy, who popped up during the tour and mentioned about how she loves seeing behind the scenes, and I couldn't agree more. I think that's always one of the coolest parts of pieces like this. I should say, this is really, really cool. So exactly, Amy mentions right now, you mentioned about even putting the sort of offcuts to use from production. Right. When you were sort of starting out, I mean, I believe you mentioned in some of the text on your website about how sort of your initial vision in coming out of school or you made a presentation that maybe just didn't have the same impact that you sort of expected. And it was sort of then only on being able to create this product that people really started to get the vision of, how we could turn this sort of re-engineering of, a product into something really viable and something really powerful. Has that aspect always been a part of, where you wanted to take your work? I think you mentioned on your website, you say a garbage man with a PhD is sort of how your mom understands your profession.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure if my mom still is a fan of what we're doing, but I think we're slowly getting there, because I think the essence of our brand is really showing people that you can create, like, circular economy is something we don't really understand with a tangible, practical example yet. But we say, okay, look, there are now 35 young professionals on staff, all the way from our youngest interns who are passionate about the environment or about economy, all the way to our PhDs and MBAs. Why do they work for a company that recycles chopsticks is now obvious to us. We are sending a message that we are leading by example, that if you can create a viable franchise with something humble like a chopstick, that had a 20-minute lifetime during your sushi lunch, after traveling 5,000 miles from Asia, from the bamboo forest, all the way to our plate. Well, that is linear economy. if that ends up in the garbage, that is linear economy that is way wasteful and uses a lot of energy in its lifetime. What we're doing is we're circling it back into a urban harvested engineered material, and we're giving it a brand. And that brand, ChopValue, stands for, is a symbol for a viable circular economy business. What you see in front of you, I'm not sure if you still see the presentation. There are now a lot of screens going on at the same time, but we also developed in 2020, our team reacted to all the challenges that we're having in the hopefully most positive way. We have created a new product brand called Smile. Smile is the abbreviation for a shelving module for inspired living environment. Our team gave it that positive brand name because we wanted to bring positive, climate positive news to our consumers and to anyone who is not a consumer yet from carbon negative products. And this is where we get excited about. If we can actually tell a story about viable business, but also climate positive products through our brand while having fun, while staying motivated throughout a challenging year like 2020, I think if we can do that, we did everything right.
Well, and I come from a marketing background, and I mean, I really resonate with that piece where you talk about being able to tell a story with the product, because I believe there are so many products out there that are aesthetically beautiful and beautifully designed, and there's no question about it. But, from a marketing background, I don't think there's any question that in 2020, having that sort of story aspect helps to give a business sort of a modern context. Do you know what I mean? That in combination with the sort of really environmentally positive aspect. Like I was looking through the portfolio that you have on your website this morning, and one that really stuck out to me was this beautiful home furnishing that was done with, there was an ascending staircase, and there was also a huge, beautiful showpiece wall, and it was gorgeous.
Right.
It just got me thinking about how that homeowner is not only able to sort of live out their personal, important value of helping the environment and doing that sort of thing, but, how important is it to you that homeowner also now has this amazing story that they can tell anyone who comes over and sort of say, you see this beautiful, table or wall or, whatever it happens to be. In this case, the beautiful modular shelving, right? It has this cool backstory associated with it as well.
Yeah, Don, I think we need, like as a society, we need stories to tell. Not only to ourselves to feel good, but also to our friends if we want to leave an impact, one chopstick at a time. Right. So, going back to the homeowner, yes, you can take this the very pragmatic way. You can say, I wanted to have a carbon neutral or carbon negative home renovation, and FYI, this is how much carbon I captured or stored in my home renovation because I wanted to go green. That's right. One area. The second area is, don't take yourself too serious. This homeowner used 330,000 chopsticks on the wall. Just leave that statement like that and start the icebreaker conversation when you have visitors over. But the third thing is really what, on a bigger picture, what does this actually tell us? Because it starts a conversation on, okay, well, if we can do this out of chopsticks, there must be other solutions out there for all the other urban underutilized resources we have to create new, beautiful engineered materials.
Absolutely, no question. Well, so this, I also have to ask you, so if I were to open my own microfactory, if I were interested in opening my own ChopValue franchise, and believe me, like I very much am. So you talk about having essentially the finished product after the recycling portion is complete is the extruded, the bricks that sort of emerge. Right. As I, as a potential new franchise owner, would I be looking to amass chopsticks in my local community, or would I be receiving the bricks from you to fabricate the products? What would be sort of the typical experience for the franchise owner?
Yeah. So first of all, Don, we obviously don't want you to leave Trotec because you're our great partner there to tell the story with us, and we want to grow together. But if you want to consider to run a microfactory on the site next to your Trotec building, because I've obviously visited you pre-COVID, it would all happen locally. So look at the Microfactory that maybe you see the slide in front of you. We designed it in a way that our equipment and machinery, that establishes around 6 to 8 jobs, fits into any standard commercial unit in any North American metropolitan city. It's all made local. So you collect your resource locally, so you're not shipping them from anywhere. That would, again, be a carbon footprint for this resource. You produce locally, and you have the ambition to distribute and design locally. So you would take care of the homeowners in Ontario, for instance, where you are, I think, located. So the whole Microfactory franchise concept is really designed to do everything local, no matter where you are, with a support from us on the corporate head office through all the sales enablement and marketing tools, and obviously the training for equipment and machinery. We have 3 versions of the franchise. If you're starting from zero, so if you're not an existing woodworking shop, for instance, you would invest into the turnkey Microfactory concept. That obviously includes the core, and the turnkey concept includes the Trotec Laser as the last value-added piece of equipment in our concept. And it all the way starts with the custom engineered machinery that Hugh and I developed on the sorting, resination, drying, and pressing side of these bricks that you call them. We call them tiles because that's the raw material that is used for all other end products. And this allows you to go all the way from resource to the end product. And that end product could be anything from home decor to coasters to the Smile shelving system that we are just launching, that you see here in front of you. So it could be a wide range of value-added end products.
That makes sense. Can I ask, because I think it does strike me as probably pretty core to the brand as well. Was the decision to make the shelving modular in order that it could sort of fit in any space, or was it sort of to underscore also the fact that the brand is very flexible in terms of, as you say, with the ChopValue tile, you can create so many different sort of applications and end products?
Yeah. So, the modularity is one of the key differentiators of our brand, but also the key success of our brand, because I think we want to create products that have minimal waste. So no offcuts are designed within the parametric view of our system. And I think that's also the big advantage of what our end consumers are actually feeling pleased with a human eye on looking at this shelving system, and they understand the proportions fairly quickly. Going all the way to every people's homes, you're right. Smile is designed that it fits, any space, any time, probably with a focus on living, kitchen, and work from home, to make your sustainable living and sustainable work from home a bit more accessible through this modular system. I think that is where the idea is coming from, alongside the climate positive news that we wanted to launch this year. Absolutely.
Well, and as someone who's heard enough bad news for this year, I feel like just a little thank you from me. I do have another question about Smile, but I wanted to quickly, we have a question from the chat here from Greg, who's asking specifically about how you go about joining the tiles together to form like a butcher block or a shelf or a sort of larger piece. Obviously, you don't have to divulge anything that is industry secret, but I'm really curious about the manufacturing.
Yeah, Greg, we will tell you everything. Don't worry about it. I think the secret behind getting from a small tile size all the way to the end product is just having standardized processes and templates on how we are actually gluing these materials together. So you see here in front of you, Hugh went back into the Microfactory, and when we first glue them together, they look pretty raw, right? So this is now the unplaned raw tile, how it comes out of the press, where it's first getting glued up before it then goes through a jointer and planer and sander to form the final components. So, short answer, Greg, we have templates and jigs for everything, so that we can standardize our glue ups, so that we can efficiently make products out of our 8x8 inch tile.
That makes sense. I have another quick question from Ruth, who asks if there was a size limitation when ordering a custom piece. What might be the thinnest width of the material that you could order?
Yeah, so thinnest, we do have limitations just because of the structural integrity, right? So what we would call a veneer is maybe around 3 to 4 millimeters that we have done in the past. But then, we make luggage tags or keychains or name tags or something. But size limitations on bigger scale, we have done 16 feet long kitchen countertops all the way to the feature wall that you mentioned on our homepage that used 330,000 chopsticks over 3 stories high. So
yeah. I'm going to see if I can pull it up because it is really, really impressive to see. I'm going to.
Sure, yeah.
I wanted to ask you too, so returning to Smile really briefly, I know part of the launch and the pre-order was done through Kickstarter. I'm curious why you chose to go with Kickstarter. I would surmise that I assume a lot of it is also to do with reaching out to, you're getting backing from those people who share your values, I assume, right? You're out there looking for people who want to back you and share sort of what it is that ChopValue is about.
Yeah, we noticed throughout the last few months that people who are aligned with us in terms of sustainability or conscious consumerism, we have their support. They listen to us. The Kickstarter community is something we wanted to experiment with because it's the DIY people, just like the Trotec audience. It's the people who are more perceptive to new ideas, and we thought this is actually a really, really great chance to understand: is there an appetite from a very broad audience, like the Kickstarter crowdfunding audience, for a new product? And we thought, let's, based on our brand guidelines, let's launch this product under a new product name and see what happens. And, so far, I think we have a big chance to make this a really, really positive campaign, because up to date, I'm not sure if you have seen the campaign, but up to date, we have, I think, surpassed our goal by 400% or even a bit more. And
congratulations.
No, thank you. And it's always amazing to see that there's such a positive perception of a broader community that we weren't exposed to previously to our products, which is, amazing, a validation and a big motivator for our team to do the right thing.
Absolutely. Well, and I think also, for potential franchisees out there, there's an aspect too that says it's always nice to see that the home office continues to innovate, right? I mean, I know that I'm not sort of left to. I have the freedom to sort of innovate on my own, to design new products and do new cool things with the tiles. But then at the same time, I have the support from Hugh and yourself and the team that is there in Vancouver, to always be creating these new things and kind of coming out with new ideas that then I can also leverage, in my local area, right? Yeah, I wanted to quickly share this. All available on again, chopvalue.com. I mean, definitely check it out. It is, if nothing else, I mean, you will lose some time just going through the beautiful images and the awesome presentations.
Thank you. Yeah, you see all sorts of different B2B relationships we have, not only with Gogglesock, but also Elate Cosmetics. So we align ourselves with brands that want to tell their own story. So you see every product that you in our B2B relationship is engraved, with either with a strong messaging or a positive news or a slogan, but mostly with their logos or with their text. And we launched over the last few months also some hygiene and safety products with intuitive AI, just like these Oscar recycling stations and heat temperature stations for developers and building entries for all sorts of different areas. And this is the home you mentioned earlier, where we, pretty much designed this feature wall ranging 3 stories high, and the end grain stair threads that really shows the performance, the durability, and the hardness of the product, especially when you go up and down barefoot all day long. So
I was going to say, it really does speak to the quality of the product. I mean, if it didn't have super high quality, you would have to be very brave to put them at such a high traffic area, right? But what I also love about the way that you guys have prepared this is not only, as you say, you mentioned over 300,000 chopsticks, but there's this great little feature here at the top where you mention about the recycled by weight materials of the project and also the recycled content of the product. You guys have kept track of that throughout as you're working with with a partner, I suppose.
It is crucial for us, right? We didn't want to start a company that just pretends to do good. We need to measure every single day our performance to see if we are still on track to do good, even with the scalability. And this is one of the big reasons why we decided to franchise, by the way. So if we were to go the traditional way, we would build one big mega factory in the most profitable, most advantageous area, and we would ship materials from all over the world to one factory and scale it to the maximum. What we do here with every new product launch, just like Smile, is we want to produce locally, source locally, manufacture locally, and distribute locally to make sure that we stay carbon negative or at least carbon neutral in scale. No matter if we have one microfactory or 100 microfactories, it's the way to go.
Right. That makes perfect sense. I have a couple questions from the chat really quick. Catherine asks about what computer program is most often used for the design of your products, and does it sort of directly communicate or interact with the Trotec Laser?
Yeah. So, Catherine, the easy answer from my end, because I don't have SolidWorks on my computer, I don't have AutoCAD on my computer, I literally ask or receive JPEGs or PDFs or whatever black and white logo or text from the clients usually. And that gets uploaded on CorelDRAW, which is the program that is I think most frequent or even standard in use with Trotec, and CorelDRAW just transferred it to the and communicates it to the laser if you want. That then just functions like a printer. So it has to be that simple to avoid mistakes, but also for training, because we never hired a laser engineer or laser technician to do the job. We have higher staff trained to maintain, operate the laser.
I mean, from our end, I'll mention too that if you have pre-existing training, Felix is exactly right in that Corel is absolutely one of the, if not the most sort of standard program that we see used with the lasers, and it does communicate directly, just like a printer, exactly like you said. If you're already trained with Photoshop, Illustrator, Inkscape, even SolidWorks or AutoCAD, all of those will work in the same way also. So, no need to learn a new piece of software by any means.
Correct, yeah.
I have a quick question from Amy, who asks about, you mentioned earlier, so there was a particular shout out to a certain type of chopstick that was in the manufacturing process. Do you use all types? Are you able to recycle all types, or are there certain ones that you prioritize above others? Are there sort of like gold fines that you get?
Yeah, we don't discriminate, Amy. It doesn't matter shape, length, color, species. We take them all. Whatever reduces our waste from the landfill, we did find a process of making sure they're getting randomized and processed into new, beautiful, uniform material. So it doesn't matter if they're round or tapered. That shouldn't be a criteria for us not to recycle, right? So we designed the process in mind that everything gets transferred with a lot of heat, steam, and pressure into this new uniformed engineered material before it then gets handcrafted into its final products.
So that brings up a question for me. I'm looking at pictures of the material and also watching the videos, and I think I might know the answer, but I want to ask, I have the experts here, right? Do you worry about sorting by species at all, or is it simply just what comes in, like you say, is washed and put through the process regardless of different sizes, different colors, or because it creates the grain of the product, I suppose?
Yeah, no, you're right. It does to a certain extent create the grain, but it's still so uniform with the pressure that we apply that you wouldn't really know what type of chopstick went into it. The perception of quality for chopstick is so different, So the lowest quality chopsticks, for instance, actually give the highest quality end product because they're getting compressed easily in our hydraulic hot press. So when you're a composite engineer like me, you actually like the cracked fibers and the soft low quality chopsticks because they actually press really well. They don't have to have single structural integrity. They just have to perform really well during compaction when we make this new material.
That makes sense. It's like people who love sort of the patina that develops on an old leather jacket kind of thing too, right? It's like
Right.
you come to love the cracks and the sort of shows of the life that it lived before.
Right. Yeah.
I have a great question from Jason that I want to ask you. So right now with the current situation that is, ongoing, are there any issues with the Chopstick collection? If the restaurants are not open, how does the product get collected, and do franchises share product sources, ideally depending on their sort of location?
For sure. So maybe Hugh, you can answer the question because the phone is ringing in the background on my end.
Sure. So about the Chopstick volume during this pandemic, that's basically the question.
Yeah, is sort of how to go about collection, sort of given the strenuous situation.
Yeah, and obviously it's been a challenge for us. It's kind of given us more avenues of ways to look at collecting this resource. So while dine-in restaurant has gone down, takeout has gone up. So it's given us chances to reach out to different opportunities there, and also brings a chance for us to introduce our new Chopstick program, which is Chopstick Plus, where we're trying to actually distribute chopsticks to restaurants directly so that it gives them more incentive to recycle. So increasing the incentives of recycling, which takes a lot of the pressure off us and puts more pressure onto the individual restaurants. So they're working with their customers to bring those chopsticks back and supporting us to recycle.
Wow, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks, you.
I'm curious. So, would you guys, if I were a franchisee, also be offering marketing materials? So, would there be access to sort of print materials? Obviously, logos and designs and things of that nature, but stuff that I could use to market my local ChopValue sort of business.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I mentioned to you earlier that we are around 35 on staff right now. And the reason for that is, we run our own microfactory, obviously, and that provides around 6 to 8 jobs per shift of production. But the rest of the team, all they're doing is they're building out the corporate support structure for our franchisees. And that is sales enablement training, the right tools for it, marketing materials, design materials, branding support, so that every single location, just like what you see right now that is getting engraved in left's hand here, like these standardized designs that we offer for our products, they're actually developed by our branding and design team so that you can market seasonal products, you can use our marketing materials to close your own sales locally, or in the ideal scenario, our corporate team is doing so well that they actually distribute directly orders to you as a franchisee without you even being involved in the sales process.
Wow. Is there any limit? Is there any upper limit on size at all? Because I have to say, I noticed that the 3-story wall was done with individual tiles, but I could just as easily believe that was also due to like aesthetics because it looks really beautiful.
Yeah. So it is really, we're trying to be very efficient with our designs. So design efficiency is something that comes easily to me as an engineer, but not so easy to our designers as like the more traditional designers who want to be more abstract. So the beauty of our brand is really, if you think parametric, you can be very efficient in design and in pricing, because everything can be standardized. So you're right, this feature wall could have been done in many, many, many different ways. But the way we did it was not only in the most aesthetic pleasing for that scale, but also in the most efficient way in terms of waste and budget.
No, that makes sense. I have another question here from Amy who asks about sanitizing the chopsticks when they very first come in prior to the sorting. I know everybody must ask, but I can say it. I mean, it's got to be an important question for sure.
Yeah, it's funny that this. Not funny. I think it's normal that this comes up in every single conversation, no matter what industry, no matter what client. But I always remind ourselves that chopsticks for us, the moment we pick them up, it's a resource. And just like objectively, it's probably the cleanest resource you could imagine to work with as an engineering material.
Yeah.
You don't have to work through soil or other contaminants. The only contaminants you really work with is some leftover soy sauce and wasabi that is already dried off, because we have it in separate bins that are not moist. And so we get a really, really dry raw material in. Through the shaker table, it gets shaken off. So we're not using any water or chemicals to actually sanitize and clean the chopstick, because that would add another process step that would cost energy. So throughout the production process, when we add all that heat, steam, and pressure, that's what actually contaminates or removes all the contamination of the material before it gets turned into end product. I think that is the most accurate answer, not only scientific, but also from a comfort level. What Hugh has also done, he has actually implemented a 2-week quarantine period for the chopstick we have been collecting over the last few months. But this is really just for good measures, also for the comfort of our staff, rather than for an actual purpose.
No, that makes sense. But I mean, that's great though. I was going to ask as well. So in terms of, gosh, I'm not quite sure how to phrase the question. So in terms of, you guys are centered out of Vancouver, but obviously this is a product that is pretty easily scalable all over the world. I believe you mentioned you were looking to hopefully expand globally. You know, like what does the next few years ideally look like for ChopValue, and are ChopValue franchises available outside of North America potentially?
Yeah. So, you know, Don, the reason why we teamed up with you as Trotec is we obviously looked at where our global expansion partners located, and I think you're in every key country located that we are aiming to expand to offer that local technical support, that local representation of both of our brands. And you're right, we the key areas of expansion starts from Vancouver to North America, the markets we can serve.
Right.
But then obviously flips over to Middle Europe, South America, and then Asia is a different story, because I heard they're using a lot of chopsticks as well.
Yes, that's my understanding. I was thinking too to myself, you were saying about part of what makes the chopsticks such a great engineering material. I suppose there's very few things also that are single use. I mean, they really have only been used once, and like you said, probably for only 20 or 30 minutes. What you're getting in isn't sort of it is a recycled product, but it is like something that has really only seen use for such a short amount of time that you're almost getting a new chopstick short of, sort of 1 20-minute interval. You know
right,
what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And imagine expanding the circular economy franchise all over the world. I hope people will look at us and just see it as a symbol of this is how circular economy is supposed to work. And if they can do it with this little chopstick, I can do this too with the research that I have on hand, way too much underutilized as part of linear economy. I think that is that's a pretty good mission to have, knowing that we're creating so much business opportunity within the circular economy as the norm.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. I have to ask, and this is just a question just for me. This is one that it's very important. I don't know why. I always tell customers who come to visit us at Trotec that lasers have what I think of as like the label maker problem, that as soon as you have a laser, you want to use it for everything. And so I'm so curious if yourself and Hugh, if I were to visit you in Vancouver, is your house top to bottom in beautiful ChopValue installations, or has it made that transition into your, would I find those sort of like early alpha prototypes, around that sort of thing? Or
so Don, it's actually funny because Hugh and we probably made that experience just last week when when our team finalized a huge order. It's always the two of us who give our own products that we maybe have at home first away to fulfill that last little piece that is required for order, because we're just literally running out of product demand. Or another story. Last week I was on a similar video call, and I see someone walking behind me and ripping my wall decor of my background because we were short on just a few tiles and shelves left for an order. So, like, at least from my end, I'm not sure how it is with you, Hugh, but every time I bring something home, I probably use it a week or two later as a sample, as a gift, or to fulfill an order, because it's not going to last long at home.
Same for me. Other than the very first tile we pressed, nothing else.
I respect that. I really respect that. I think particularly if even, like you say, on a video call, I mean, that lets you know that they will never let a franchisee sort of like, down. I mean, that whether it even comes right off the wall, that you're going to get those last few shelves, hell or high water, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I think there is a potential, especially with business owners who already have a Trotec laser. Like, I think there's this triggering feeling of how much value you can create by customization with traditional products. And this is why, we see there's obviously a fit of everyone who already is in that Trotec mindset of, creating new things, value-added things, that they're actually also interested in understanding our concept more, and even explore the avenue of running their own circular economy franchise, because they're already saving that investment for a Trotec laser. So we will obviously want to reach out to as many as possible Trotec DIYers and others who understand the value we create with Trotec to our products.
I appreciate your saying that, because I was just thinking the same thing, that sort of there's a lot of our customers, and obviously we have customers of all different sizes, certainly from people who run a huge manufacturing facility to people who have their Trotec in their garage or in their basement.
Right.
But as you say, they're all sort of unified by that same sort of value add that they can have either to products that they create or products that they customize for others. And I really think that, because the microfactory concept, is so adaptable and so modular to so many places, I would not be shocked to learn that a lot of, pre-existing Trotec customers could add ChopValue Microfactory to their existing workspace without too much difficulty, given that you guys have already sort of put together the blueprints and everything that they would need, realistically.
Yeah. No, yeah, thanks for saying that. I think the unique position we have put ourselves into, considering it's 2020, is right now we have more demand than we can produce, which makes us which puts us into a really fortunate position to really evaluate the right strategic collaborative partners to grow with. Right. So, our key interest is really there has to be a microfactory in Toronto, because we for sure know the market is bigger than Vancouver. So, sorry, Vancouver friends, but there's a big demand for sustainable home decor and work from home key areas in Toronto. We have markets for Ottawa, for Montreal, and obviously across the border, when you go to Seattle and down the West Coast, but also down the East Coast, we have the motivation to bring local manufacturing jobs into these urban areas, and just increase that appreciation for it as well.
Absolutely. Well, I have a quick comment here from Sweden, and I would be remiss not to mention it. The Outlaw mentioning that they will come into contact with you, and in order that they can get all the franchise facts about potentially putting one in Stockholm, Sweden, which would be very, very cool. Yep. And I did see an earlier comment too, not to generalize Swedish brands, but about potentially getting the ChopValue products into IKEA. And I think if nothing else, IKEA represents beautifully designed, like innovative modular products. And if that's the first thing that triggers in somebody's mind, you know what I mean? I think you're definitely on the right track as far as, that goes 100%.
You're right. Yeah. What IKEA does so well is minimalist, timeless, standardized design for everybody, accessible for everybody. We want to make the circular economy the norm and sustainability accessible for everybody. I think that is a big alignment, but I don't know if it has to be the traditional product placement, or maybe should it be that a single microfactory, including a Trotec laser, is located in every single IKEA in the world. Why, let's remove the hot dogs at the end of the cash out, and let's put a microfactory there, because there is enough space. There is the consumer attachment and the experience that you can sell with it. So, if someone wants to go out there and vouch for us for that idea, I'm all in for it. And of course, we will bring the concept to Stockholm, because I think Hugh and I both know that there's a big enough market. Hugh's brother lives in Scandinavia, and is scoping out our market sizes there. So it's great to hear the interest from Stockholm.
I was going to say, those are awful hot dogs anyway. If anything, just keep the sushi or anything that you can eat with chopsticks, and then that way we'll tie everything back together.
Perfect.
So as we're getting near to the end of the hour, just for anyone who is watching, if they want to get in contact with yourself or with Hugh or with ChopValue in general, I would be remiss if I didn't get sort of what are the best ways to reach out to you guys? What are the best ways to get in contact? If I'm interested, how do I learn more?
Yeah, so you can obviously visit our website on ChopValue.com and shoot us a message. We're not strangers. There are real people behind the concept that want to create an impact in the circular economy. You can email us directly, message us directly, or you can check out our new campaign Smile on Kickstarter as a new twist to a new product brand and be part of a very positive change in 2020.
Absolutely. I think, one thing that keeps coming to mind as I get to speak with you, Felix, is that I think there are a lot of people out there who would very much love, particularly in 2020, would very much love to make sustainability a bigger part of their lives, but they're not sure how as one individual that they can do that. And I think, one of the things that's so inspiring about your story and about the brand that you guys have built is that, if somebody were to look at your credentials, they wouldn't necessarily see, the opportunity for a sustainability brand and a circular economy brand, coming out of that. But it is proof that, with a little bit of drive and a little bit of ingenuity and in this case, a couple of chopsticks, that you really can achieve something really incredible. I think that's so important to have that message, out into the public.
Thank you, Don. We actually truly appreciate that mindset and that perspective of it. And we're super happy to have you as global expansion partner part of this adventure.
Absolutely, right back at you. I'm going to post here in the chat a URL that you can visit. As Felix mentioned, ChopValue.com is the website. And as you can tell, these gentlemen are great to chat with. So definitely don't hesitate to shoot out a message to them or to us. We will have this video up on our YouTube page, I believe, very shortly. And we'll make sure, obviously, we have all the links and all that good stuff in the description. If there are any other questions, obviously, we would be very excited for you guys to pop them into the chat. But if not, I know that both Felix and Hugh are very, very, very busy guys. Oh yeah, see, I like this comment too. It's one thing to talk about helping the earth and something else to go out and do something about it. And I think,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate the acceptance of the reality of it. Yeah.
Indeed. Hey, it is, it's meaningful change, whether it be big or small. I think right now, there's very little.
Everything counts.
Absolutely, 100%. I think I will probably wrap things up, but as I say, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to either us or to Felix and Hugh and the team at ChopValue. I know we're always excited to hear from you guys. If you'd like to see more from ChopValue, you can visit us here in our Mississauga showroom. We've got some great ChopValue samples here in the showroom that we've got a giant wall of samples, and I think there are 3 different samples that use the ChopValue material, which is more, I think, than just about anything else, just because it is really, really cool. But for the moment, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And I'm not an outlaw. You know what, Jürgen? I think you're cool. I think you're an outlaw.
Thank you, Jürgen.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching from around the world. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out, and we look forward to speaking with you in the future.